As we look at some of the CU-based gold screens in this presentation, they may look a little bit different than what some of you would see in your own credit unions. This presentation was created using the new ING Gold, which is set for release to credit unions that first week in February. The functionality is going to be the same, just to let you know. It just looks different, so don't be alarmed. You get a first little taste of what reality is. Okay, so what are trackers? Today we'll be learning about the member trackers. We're going to learn what the trackers are, how to configure the tracker and the memo types, enter a new tracker, update an existing one, follow up on a member tracker, print a hard copy, and why these trackers are so important as part of your credit union workflow. Now, exactly what are trackers? The member tracker system, it's a tool. It's helpful. It's easy to use for the credit union staff to keep on top of your important member requests, any issues that come up, and documentation. These tracker records contain reminders for your other staff members to contact a member. They can be utilized as follow-up for your collections people on payments due. They can be used to schedule an appointment among your staff members. Because they remain attached to a member's account until manually purged, they can also serve as documentation about your OFAC scans, your notices sent, and collection activity. Adding tracker entry and follow-up to your daily workflow can be especially helpful for credit union auditors when they come in and they want to see your proof that that OFAC scan was run for a particular member. Now hang on just one second if you don't mind here. Okay, I apologize for that. We're going to continue on now. So every tracker is made up of a series of one or more conversations, and they're simply notes or records of a specific contact with a member. Our CU base automatically records the date, the time, and the employee ID on each individual conversation note. Some of your trackers might only have one or two conversations, such as an issue that comes up and is then resolved and put away, while others, like our collection card tracker, might retain many years' worth of conversation about the member's delinquency history. In order to ensure that you have intact historical record for auditing purposes, past conversation notes cannot be deleted or modified, although you can add new conversation notes at any time. So I'm going to show you what an audit tracker looks like. This would be an OFAC scan tracker. Notice the date, the time, the employee ID that the OFAC scan was ran, along with it has the fact that it passed right here, has pass-fail results. There were no suspected matches. This is something that your auditors will ask you for. All OFAC scans are attached permanently to the member's main share account. Now this, I beg your pardon?
Nothing. Go ahead.
Okay. Now this tracker is for a notice of an overdrawn account or a negative balance. This tracker would actually be attached to and recorded to the member's share draft account, or that account which was brought negative. So it is kind of the exception to the rule when it comes to trackers that are automatically generated. Same way with a delinquent loan notice. That is going to be attached to the loan. that is going to be attached to the loan which became delinquent. And this is an example right here of a delinquent loan for an e-notice. It's indicating notice the current balance. It looks exactly like the notice that went out to the member. It contains the sub-account that was delinquent. It also details the account balance information, what was written on the notice, your payment amount, what is due. So it has all of the pertinent information that was provided to the member right in your tracker history.
Ellie, we're getting background noises of other people talking.
You know what? I think maybe if, I think it might be at one of our credit unions.
Right.
Do you hear it now? Yeah, yeah. So maybe if you guys want to put yourself on mute.
Yeah, that would probably be good.
Yeah, and then when you have a question, just jump in and say, hey, Ellie, I have a question.
Okay.
Okay. I'm just confused how we're doing breaks because I'm online and she's doing DMV.
Oh. Whatever you want to do.
So yeah, if I could have everybody mute their phone. There we go. I apologize for that. Let's continue on here. Now, our collection tracker is designed to have a continuous addition of our conversations or notes. Therefore, there should only be one collection tracker per member because collection efforts, as we know, don't always apply to just one loan or just one line of credit. It belongs to the member. So in the case of our collection tracker, the records are attached to the member's share account and remain there even after the member's account base is closed. So notice the memo types that we have. We have a PP promise to pay, a broken promise, a repossession. Those are configurable by your credit union. And we're going to get into exactly how to do that in just a minute here. Aha! Our configurations of our tracker types. So this is where we began. Once we access our tracker menu, which is menu MNTRAK, we would go to number 7, and that's where we configure our tracker types. We see a listing, like you see on your screen, of existing tracker types. So to create a new tracker type, we're going to click Add over here on the left-hand side, the F6 button. Then that's going to bring us to the next screen. I have entered, for the purpose of this demonstration, a tracker type of ES. That's what we're creating today. And I've given it a description of escrow processing and a short description of ESC. These fields that we have entered are what your staff members will see when entering trackers for this type. So if they want to put something in the escrow processing tracker type, this is what they're going to see. They'll tracker type ES, they'll get a little brief description, so it helps them. I try to use a logical sequence, hence the ES, the escrow, the ESC, just something that helps make things a little clearer for the staff members who might be utilizing this. Now, we have options where we can display or allow certain features of this tracker type. I actually unchecked this one to display in our sales tracker leads and follow-ups because these type of notes would not really apply to someone who's following sales leads and lending prospects. I also unchecked allow trackers to be purged. Since I will want this to be part of a permanent tracker record, you can check in your credit union MNTRAK and go through and see if all of your current configurations allow trackers to be purged or not. If you decide in the future this category needs to be purged, then you just go ahead and click that button. Once we do that, at this point, we've established what we want to allow this type to do. We would just press enter to save. So now I need to do a memo type. And the memo codes are simply a summary title of what that tracker is all about. Memo codes, to give you like a little synopsis of how this works, are attached to each individual conversation note within a tracker record. So each memo type is configured to be associated with a tracker type. So for example, in the collection card category of tracker records, you could flag a conversation note such as the promise to pay, or bankrupt, or disability insurance coverage, or those type of things. For your sales trackers, you could use memo types such as contact the memo, or not interested, or pending, and so on. Then you can freehand your additional notes on your conversation within the tracker. So this screen shows a listing of existing memo types and the tracker types that are attached to them. At this point, we're going to create a memo type to go with our new tracker type, the escrow processing. To do this, we're going to click on the Add or F6 button on the left-hand side. Keeping with my logical sequence, I entered the 2-digit code that we created for the escrow processing. Or if you don't know what it is, you can always click on that spyglass. It will give you a list of existing types. So when I'm creating a memo type description, again, something logical that fits my description. So for this one, I'm going to call my memo type an insurance vendor. I chose IN right here, IV, thinking that that followed the sequence. I chose also to use for links to external documents right here. So if I have any external letters or documents that are created that every time I access this particular memo type, I can go right to that link, and I can then either freeform what needs to be added. It will print the document, and then it will maintain a record that I've done that. Now, I did not use for permanent underwriting comments. This is for the collection tracker types only. Also note that I did not click Use to monitor account daily for a specific activity. That would be like your promise to pay. If you check this box and create the appropriate tracker conversation, CUBase will monitor for member deposits, such as a promise to pay transaction. It's a very helpful feature, but it doesn't really apply to the tracker type that we're utilizing today. So at this point, I can arrow forward, or I can press Enter to save. So now this brings us back to the memo type definition listing, where we can see the memo type we just created for our new tracker type. I continue to add more if I wanted to, or if you see you made an error, you simply highlight that memo type and then click Change down below at the bottom, correct it, or delete it altogether. So now we're going to add a new tracker to a member's account. What we'll need to do is access a member either through your member inquiry or phone operator at the bottom of any of your CUBase Gold menu or screen. So here I've brought up Mr. Joe P. Smith, and all of these screens actually were taken from our Bedrock training database, so none of these are real people. So we're going to highlight the member's share account, and then we're going to press Enter or Select below. Now if you're in phone operator, you highlight the member's share account and click on the Inquiry tab down below the member's account listing. Now, as a note, you can attach a tracker to any sub-account. Most credit unions prefer to use the main share account so that records of all tracker conversations are located in one place. Now, notice on the lower left side of the member account inquiry screen is the tab Tracker Review right here, or F21. So you would click on that tab, and it brings you to the member tracker review. Now, as you can tell, this member already has history in his tracker review. We can either add to an existing tracker, thereby making a string of conversations, or we can create a new tracker. For a better understanding, we're going to do both. We're going to add to an existing tracker and create a new tracker. First, we will add to one of the existing trackers in this record. To do this, we're going to highlight an existing tracker to add to, then click that Update button at the bottom. Now, if you wanted to see information that already exists for this particular tracker, then you would just highlight it and press View. So now I chose a memo type from our SPY list. Because we're updating at this moment, I said, okay, to go along with the existing tracker that we had created, we're just going to do an outbound maintenance type of tracker. The tracker I created of ES escrow processing is not available because we are adding it to an existing tracker. Only those memo types already configured for this tracker type will appear as an option. When we go out and create a new one, it'll be available for us. So if I'm speaking with someone other than the member, I can freehand that information right here, enter the person's name in that speaking to field. Then I can enter my conversation notes. Now I entered the member's email address as invalid, contacted him, left message, also asked about current, he gave me updated email address. I also asked about he also asked about current loan rates for first mortgage refinance and possible HELOC. I told him a loan officer will contact him next week. So while I was doing my routine, we also got a sales lead out of this, something for a potential loan. So I'm going to want to make sure that this gets followed up. So at this point, we can save and continue. But before we do that, though, I would like to point out the other function buttons that we could access while we were on this screen. We can go phone inquiry, which would take us right into the phone op functions. The contact screen right here is a pop-up box that gives the member's name, email address, work number, home phone number. So I'm not jumping in and out of the screen. I have everything that I need right here while I'm working. We can view the household information if we want, right here. We can look at additional signers for any loans that the member may have. In case I get Mrs. Smith on the phone, then just with a click here I can find out if she's on that loan and if it's okay to discuss any information with her. Now we're going to save and continue right here. This is the next screen which pops up. It's asking me, I've left the box clicked here to update the last contact for this account. It's recommended that you always leave this flag checked to update the last contact date for the sales tracker of this account. I've also checked that this entry requires a follow-up right here. And I've entered a follow-up date and I've assigned it to another employee. This serves as a great documentation and communication tool with my other team members. As we're going to see in a few minutes, you can assign trackers to a specific team member for follow-up. Now this is especially helpful if I'm calling about this invalid email address. Member starts asking a question about loans. Tracker follow-up will let your lending department know, hey, you've got that lead and this is where we're going to do it. Now at this time we can arrow forward or press save. Now in case anybody noticed, the screens started looking different, didn't they? This is that feature or a little glimpse for you who do not already on our beta program for the ING testing. This is how it's going to look. So now once I hit save and continue, this brought us back to the member tracker review screen. Notice the yellow highlighted rows. these top two here. This means that this particular tracker has a follow-up assigned to it. So now we're going to create a new tracker entry using the tracker type that we configured in our class. Last time we highlighted one of the existing trackers and chose to update. This time we're going to go ahead and click on the tracker entry tab on the left side of the screen, right down here. The pop-up window now appears. I have typed in a keyword or phrase of insurance agent. This will help sort through potentially dozens of trackers in the future very quickly to find this particular tracker. I've left the member account filled as a 00 type, as is. I don't want to change it because that's where it's going to attach this tracker. I could type in a loan sub-account if I wanted to, and this tracker would then attach to that loan. However, I wanted all of my members of trackers attached to the main share account. I've also chosen from the Spyglass right here that tracker type of ES that we created. Now notice the location is a field that I can change right here. However, the date and time pre-fills for permanent record of exactly when this conversation occurred are not something that you can change. So at this time, we're going to arrow forward or press enter to move to the next screen. Now this screen looks exactly like it did when we were adding a conversation a few minutes ago to that existing screen. I've chosen my memo type from the Spyglass, the one that we created, insurance vendor. I'm still speaking with Mr. Smith, although I can change that. And then I free-entered some conversation notes just about his new insurance agent. Again, notice the additional access buttons on the left-hand side. Those are identical to what we saw when we were updating the tracker. At this point, we'll save and continue. I can leave the box checked to entry just made requires a follow-up. Enter that follow-up, enter the follow-up date, the person to call back, or if I unclick it, because this particular tracker didn't require a follow-up, then the box and the date and the staff member for follow-up goes away. Now I can just arrow forward, press enter to save, and it's done. It brings us back to our tracker review, and you can see on the top line, this is the tracker that we just created. We have a date, a time, a type, the person who did it. So all of the information is there at a glance. So now I want to talk a little bit about collection trackers. As we just saw with the trackers we entered, you can have multiple trackers of the same type attached to a member's account. As an example, this menu screen shows there are two AUD type trackers, right there and right there. The exception to this rule is the collection tracker, or also known as a collection card. On this screen, you can see the type of card at the very top, which is the type for our collection tracker notes. The collection tracker works exactly like all our other trackers with one important exception. You can only have one collection tracker per membership. Once the collection card type has been created, you would always use the update choice of the existing type collection. In our collection tracker, this is going to create an ongoing string of notes and conversations. I can position to a specific date. When you get a string of 40 or 50, I might want to only see what's happening since January 1st of this year. So we can enter a date, press enter, and it will move for conversations from that point over. Since each entry is date and time stamped by CU Base, as you'll notice right along the top here, the collection tracker creates a chronological history for use in those bankruptcy legal proceedings involving your members' accounts. Now, as we all know, there are situations where contact with the member and collection activity can continue long after the member has closed his membership account. An example of this would be a charged-off loan or a bankruptcy that can continue for several years, and that documentation is important. So as an exceptional feature to this CU-based tracker system is that you can add and update existing trackers for your closed members. You would access the closed member accounts through your member inquiry that can be located at the bottom of any of the CU-based menus. Then you would follow the same steps to create or update a tracker as if the member were open or active. This is the only feature which you can update, maintain, and add to a closed membership in CU-Base. So now we've created these trackers. We've added some follow-ups. So now we need to be able to work those follow-ups. For your convenience, there are several places in CU-Base Gold where you can work the follow-ups that are created when a tracker has been assigned to an employee. You can access the follow-ups from within the individual member's accounts through member inquiry or phone operator, or by accessing the MN Track menu, option number 1, MN Collection, option number 2, MN Master, which is your main menu when you first sign into Gold, option number 18, or MN Loan, option number 10. Since we've been working in the tracker menu, I've chosen this particular menu to access. So we chose number 1, working with tracker follow-ups. The first tracker that we created this morning, we assigned a follow-up for our staff member, KW. So I have put KW's initials in here. Alternatively, we can look up in the spyglass. Now notice the yellow highlighted fields. A highlighted follow-up date means that the follow-up is past due. So in the example of this top one, follow-up date was January 14th. Today's the 15th, so this is highlighted. Also, if you'll notice that this particular account number is highlighted yellow. When the account number is highlighted, that means that it's a closed membership. So again, the tracker entry at this point is exactly the same as when we created a tracker, we updated a tracker. This would be on my closed member. We've entered the details of our conversation with the member. Our next step would be to save and continue again. In the lower left-hand screen, our earlier conversation appears as an easy reference tool. So I can see right here in front of me, what was the last thing that we talked about? The options on the left, again, are the same as the previous tracker entry. We can jump to phone off, household, conversations. Now at this point, we can go ahead and click Save to continue. At this time, we can assign another follow-up by entering the follow-up date, person, etc. Or we just go ahead instead, we unclick the follow-up and instead mark the follow-up as complete right down here at the bottom. Marking it complete, it saves the tracker, it marks it as complete on the follow-up listing. So at this time, we would arrow forward or press enter to save and complete. As an additional note, one of the many advantages to using this tracker follow-up feature is that when those situations occur where one of your staff members is out of the office, you can still access that person's follow-ups and complete them. No follow-up promises get untouched. So in returning back to our tracker menu, I like to point out just a couple of the print functions right down here. We just worked with outstanding follow-ups directly from this screen. For those situations that occur, you can also print the follow-ups for up to 5 employees at a time by accessing this MN Track menu, option number 20. When you do that, you get a screen that looks like this. You can request date ranges, employee ID numbers, which follow-ups include, etc. You press enter or arrow forward to print your report. So notice all of the optional indicators here at the left-hand side. So if I wanted to create a A conversation range from January 1st to the present, I would enter that in. Otherwise, it's going to give me everything because I've already chosen a follow-up date range here. The type of employee to follow up, the ones that are created by or assigned to. So if I've got employee IDs, I can choose from the Spyglass up to 5. I might want all of them. I might only open. I might only want closed. And I would want a page break on a sort. So if your credit union has been closed for a significant amount of time, you've got maybe a call center service, they're taking calls from your members and you go in to pull those and there's 100 of them, you can then just print those off, break them off, hand them out to all of your employees, and then they can share the wealth and get that workload done. Now, in those situations where you want a hard copy of your member tracker conversations, you have the option to print a single member's conversations or a group of member conversations. As we go through this report option screen, notice that many of the selection fields are optional again. So this allows you to be very member-specific or date specific, or more general, to choose a broad range of members across a more general time frame. The screen looks very similar to the one prior. So if I were wanting to print only one member tracker notes for my hard copy file, I would put member number 1, 2, 3 to member number 1 through 3. I would blank out all of the dates. I would remove everything from the notice trackers and mailed because those are optional. I want everything. And then I can, down here at the bottom, I can print a summary page, or I can print a conversation detail where it's going to give every conversation tracker exactly like it looked like on your screen, including the date and the timestamps. So now, why are these member trackers so important? The trackers provide our permanent documentation for events, conversations, and activity on a member's account. Our trackers can provide the necessary documentation for legal proceedings, collection efforts to help protect your credit union. Trackers provide our communication between staff members or between departments regarding follow-up on leads for lending, credit union services, and collection efforts. Our member trackers also allow your staff members to be more efficient with promised follow-ups with your members and with their time. So no more looking for that post-it note with the member's new phone number. It also provides a central location for storage of all documented activity for each member. Our trackers can only be deleted through credit union configuration, as I showed you earlier on. When the membership is closed, the trackers remain attached to the member's account indefinitely. Now, I have listed here on this page a listing of other references. And if I was thinking once that I'm done with the webinar, then I will probably just actually copy and paste this into an email and send it out to everyone. We've got a couple of awesome reference documents out there at www.cunorthwest.com. Learn about this feature. There is a member tracker system and overview. I've got the links attached. Also, as we were going through the process on what we've learned today, if we click on the Learn About This feature link at the bottom of the screen while you're on the screen you need help with, it provides a web browser opens and it provides you with additional detailed instructions and information. Okay, any questions from anyone?
Ellie, it's Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
When we transfer, so let's say that we add one of those, we add an additional tracker card and the memo type.
Mm-hmm.
Once we transfer to this new gold, is it going to transfer over, or will we have to make it again in the new one?
Oh, no, everything is going to transfer over.
Okay.
Absolutely everything. Yep, all the commas, dots, cross T's, everything.
Okay.
So no, do not worry about that you're going to lose something with the old one. It's just an updated version.
Okay. And then the other question I had was, I know that you said this, but I just wanted to confirm, you're going to email this exact presentation to Janine?
Janine, did you want me to email the presentation?
Actually, I do,
Or
Ellie.
just this page with the links?
Oh, actually, I'd like to have the handout.
Oh, yeah, no problem. Absolutely.
That would be really helpful because we'd like to do some training, additional training with our staff.
Okay. Also, on our website, cunorthwest.com, this presentation will be available there also. So it's a recorded version of everything that I've done today. So every time you heard me swallow, it's going to be right there on that website, Janine. Yeah, usually it takes Dennis maybe about 24 hours or so to get it loaded, but it's available on the website also.
Good.
Okay, we're checking it in 26.
Okay, I'm going to go talk to Dennis right now. Anybody else have any other questions, comments, ideas, thoughts?
Comments? This is Suzette from South Bay Credit Union.
Yes.
Most of my comments would be we should be using the trackers more. I've only been with the credit union 8 months, and I feel the trackers will be way easier to keep in contact with the members than using the Post-it notes, like you said.
Oh, it is, Suzette. It's phenomenal. It's like once you start, you know, you can't stop. You go, okay, you know, because I can reach out to my staff member in the lending department because she's got to know this. I just talked and found out this guy's filing bankruptcy, and communication with each other. And when you promise that member, I'm going to call you tomorrow after I order your debit card, then you've got that follow-up that makes sure that you do call that member tomorrow.
Right, right.
So it can be an invaluable tool. It really is.
Or if a teller's gone and she was helping a member, the tracker will help us to find out what the teller was helping the member with.
Exactly. Yeah, because you aren't limited to just pulling up that follow-up listing for yourself. You can go in and pull it up for any other of your teammates.
Correct.
You know, this person is out sick, they're on vacation. Maybe I better check and see if they've promised anything to anyone.
Right,
You can
right.
pull the listing, and there you go.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Yes, it does. It does. So I'm excited, honestly, about this feature. I think that a lot of the credit unions don't. I guess sometimes they think, oh, great, it's another step. It's another place I have to go. But when you look at big picture like you do, we have in this presentation, you really see the value of it. You really do.
I agree.
So did I have any other questions from anyone else? Okay, I guess with that, I'm going to thank everyone so much for joining me today. I believe all the credit unions have our education catalog out there for other course offerings. Our month-long education series is coming up, I believe. It is next month, and it's on building queries. That's always a popular one. So be sure and check it out, and then we will speak with all of you soon.
Thank you, Ellie. Thank you.
Thank you. You guys have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
I'd like you to come